And we're live. Guys, I'd like to welcome everybody to a very special edition of the Let's Talk Fishing video podcast, Tuesday edition. I was so excited about what happened last Friday. I wanted to have a special podcast, so I asked these two guys actually at the boat launch in Lake Boeuf if they would do this. They were more than happy to. I have Steve Dufrene and a Bassmaster Elite Series angler, Tyler Rivet of Responsible Anglers United. I had the honor of attending their stocking, and it was really something to watch. 32,000 4 to 6 inch Florida strain bass being stocked into Lake Boeuf. It's wow. I'm actually, I'm a radio talk show host, and I'm actually at a loss of words for this because I'm so happy. It's just I'm a bass geek. I'm obsessed with fishing, and just like these guys, that's why we get along.
Right.
Oh yeah.
How you guys doing tonight, man?
Excellent.
We're doing
Excellent,
good.
Jay. Thanks for having us, man.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you.
Well, Steve, one of you guys, why don't you tell us a little bit about what happened last Friday?
Well, the thing that really exceeded our expectations was when Wildlife and Fisheries got involved. Okay.
Yes.
The goal was, and I think a lot of people didn't buy it, but the vision, part of the vision I kept selling was we're going to raise $100,000. And thanks to a lot of community support and thanks to 3 local officials, State Rep Brian Fontenot, and the 2 parish presidents, not at the same time, but former parish president Archie Chasson and the interim parish president Mitch Ogeron. So due to their efforts, we hit the 100,000. So after budgeting and everything, we had $80,000 to make our fish purchase, and so that was it met our expectations there. But I think it really exceeded a lot of the public's expectations just in terms of that amount of money. But like I said, where it really took off and it just exceeded everybody's expectations was we had no idea. Wildlife and Fisheries, I get an email one day, I think thanks to connections through Tyler's stepdad, Jason Adams, and I think through Gene Gillian maybe got us in touch.
Gene Gillen.
Yeah, Gene Gillen, the
conservation guy for bass.
Yeah, the conservation, the top guy with bass. Okay, so he was like, you guys need to talk with Zane LeBlanc. He's a really good guy, because one of the biggest challenges we had, Jay, like last year, literally at this time, going into this, I felt we could raise money, and I felt it would be a popular cause, and that all proved to be true. But we had a bit of a challenge with Wildlife and Fisheries in the sense that the old guard, at least at that time, they weren't fans of what we were doing. You would think, well, look, we're not, we get it. Y'all not going to put up any money. Y'all say it's wasting money. You're just throwing money away if you put money in these coastal areas and everything. And of course, we feel quite differently. But my point is that we weren't asking for their money. We were raising our own money. We just wanted the permits and say, look, just don't get in our way and we're going to do it. But it was such a challenge that we were literally looking at potentially. And I mean, we were going to do it if we had to, because at least we could get something done. But we were looking at giving away 10% of our purse to a very well-connected biologist out of Texas. Well-connected meaning he's very connected to the representatives in Louisiana. And he's like, look, I could secure all the permits. I could, maybe bid some fish out that would, I can get a better deal and all this stuff. We were like, hey, look, if that's what it takes to get some fish in the water, let's do it. So anyway, that's what we had come to terms with. And then, like I said, a few months ago, after Tyler and I had started some conversations with this new guy, Zane LeBlanc, he's a black bass biologist for Louisiana Department of Wildlife and Fisheries. And that's what Gene was saying. Gene was like, look, man, I'm telling you, he's just like y'all. He's just like us in the sense that he's just kind of down to earth. He likes to fish. He knows this area well. But where he's not like us is he's a big wig with wildlife and fishery. So I get this email one day, and I had no idea it was coming. The RAU and Louisiana Department of Wildlife and Fisheries Lake Boeuf Partnership Project. And that's how things turned out as well as they turned out this past Friday, because, not only did we not have to worry about permits, did we not have to waste a penny of our dollars to somebody else to facilitate all this? No, they were there. Not only were they there in their own vessels, we've got this partnership project, which is a 6-year deal. And I was talking to Zane about it the other day about how unique this project is. And the word he used was groundbreaking. It's a really groundbreaking effort that we have underway. And that's why it's so important. And we're going to do the best we can to raise conservation efforts and everything. And I think we will have an impact. But anyway, I'll talk maybe more about that later. But the bottom line is that over the next 2 years, they want us to release between 26 and 30,000 fish in Lake Boeuf in that area, because we covered about 2,600 acres of water area is what we covered on Friday. Keep doing that for the next 2 years. And then starting in 2029, so in about 5 years, they're going to do the first genetic testing, because in last month, they just did like 120 to 140. They did the shocking that they normally do, but they did some fish clippings. So now with those fish clippings, they're able to do genetic testing. So they're testing. That's going to be our baseline. Find out about what percentage of Florida genes are currently in our native bass population. Okay, I suspect it's fairly low, but I would also suspect there's some there. But regardless, that's going to be our baseline. We start in 2029. We're going to do a follow-up shocking and fish clippings to test the genetics then, and then the last one's going to be in 2031. So this is, I think a lot of people underestimate what we have going here. It's not just putting fish in the water. It's not just having more fish. We're trying to do two things: increase quantity and quality. Okay. So if this proves successful, here's what's going to happen moving forward after 2031. Because REU is not going anywhere. We're just going to keep evolving, and whatever the biggest needs are in this area, that's where we're going to be. Okay. And that'll work its way out, in time, of course. But if the genetics hit this certain threshold that they're looking for when they do the follow-up testing, Wildlife and Fisheries is now going to step up, and they're going to provide the Florida strain bass. They're going to determine how many they need every year. Now it's out of our hands. We did all the heavy lifting on the front end, but because of the partnership project, and because we want to produce Toledo Bend size, Lake Caney size fish, and it's not impossible. You and I just talked about this. Yes. We've seen what this area used to produce when they were releasing Florida strain bass, but once again, they haven't done that since the year 2009. So that's the biggest thing, is if we can just do it, well, because we're going to do our part. If a hurricane or something hits, it hits. You know what I'm saying? We just go back to the drum. We can't control that. The biggest thing, once again, is we're going to try to control people's urges, okay, to rape, plunder, and pillage the population. But there are some things that we'll put together that not only conservation efforts, but I think there's some other things we'll be working on to help deter, a lot of those urges. But that's how big this thing can be, And just one other thing, and we can maybe move on to whatever subject you want to go to. But I wanted to clarify one thing, Jay, which was, we said from Jump Street, and none of this has changed, that we want to cover as much water here locally as possible. Okay. But here's the thing. First of all, we only had so much money to work with. So, in time, the more this, because I think our name brand is really growing right now, and our credibility is really, really grown in the last year, considering last year nobody knew who we were because we were literally just formed. But as we have bigger fundraisers and we have more money, we're going to cover more water. But like I said, when Wildlife and Fisheries came to us and said, look, we got this partnership project, would y'all want to follow through with it? We'd have been insane not to. But I always did say Lake Boeuf was going to be the focal point, okay? And that reason, I think, is very simple. Nowhere gets pressured like Lake Boeuf. And when we have all these tournaments and all, none of the fish ever get released back in Lake Boeuf. They always get released in maybe Kramer, but the majority are going to get released in, the Zowns, and sometimes even Bio Black or whatever. So that's the area that has the most pressure, therefore needed the most assistance. But once again, over the next few years, we're going to cover the whatever amount of money we have, Jay, we're going to keep covering more and more water as long as they have habitat. Like right now in Lockport, for example, Lake Fields, they don't have fish, but I wouldn't release fish there because there's a reason they don't have fish. They don't have habitat. They don't have any grass. So, as things evolve and times change, the habitat's that's really going to determine where our dollars go.
Well, that's why I had that one video on Facebook of all the lily pads, and I just asked the question, doesn't this look like perfect bass habitat?
Correct. Yeah.
It could, because it is. That's having
great.
never been there before, that would have been one of the places I stopped.
Yeah, but somewhere that's a pretty shallow area, it for whatever reason, it's very conducive to growing nice sized fish, and plenty of them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, they fish hide under lily pads.
Yeah.
We've all seen it a million times.
Correct.
And also when I fished that place with Steve Rockweiler, I wouldn't know where to start because it all looks like it should hold bass. All of it.
Yeah.
Beautiful,
Yeah.
Beautiful. In fact, I still can't rationalize in my mind why we only caught 12 bass between the two of us. Steve Rockweiler and me, I bet you we have 100 years of bass fishing experience between the two of us.
Well,
wow.
That area got hot for a while, and then it got fished out after not that long. So, and that's just the thing. The numbers are low right now, But
yeah,
they're not as low as they were, since Friday. They're doing a little better.
Yeah, they're doing a lot better.
Yeah.
And those people, those fish are going to be eaten. Of course, that's what happens in a lake. But if 10% of them, if 10% survive, that's 3,200 bass that are going to reproduce with great genetics.
Yeah, but the only thing that could produce, when the owner of Sean, the owner of I think you met him, the owner of American Sportfish out of Alabama,
yes.
where we got the fish from. It was really cool that he actually came in. I didn't know he was coming, just to come meet us and everything. But I asked him a couple of questions. I said, man, a lot of these fish, or I said, some of these fish are going to be big enough to spawn in the spring, huh? He said, they all going to be big enough to spawn in the spring.
Oh, yes. Yes.
And from a survival rate standpoint, he feels like I feel. Outside of a natural disaster, I don't think a lot of them is going to get taken out with a hook. Not yet, anyway. I think we're going to have the vast majority of those 32,000 fish are going to be there to reproduce come the spring. And I think most people are aware of this, that not only am I not a biologist, I sucked in biology classes, the few I had in my life, but I'll go out on a limb and say this spring, if we have a purebred, I'm probably not saying that, probably not the way to say it, but anyway, have a pure Florida strain male making a bed, then you got coming behind them a pure Florida female taking on that bed, laying the eggs, and then the male comes right behind her, and that pure Florida male fertilizes those eggs. You might just get a pure Florida bass out of that offspring. Okay, so the whole goal is, once again, the main goal is to raise the Florida genetics in these fish. So
yes.
with the fact that the native population is very low right now, for that area. So we just dumped a whole bunch of Florida strain bass in there. So all I'm saying is that because we're gonna have so many Florida strain bass, not that many native fish, the Florida genetics in that population should go up very fast, over the next few years. So that's why this project has so much potential.
That's a great point. That's a great point. That you have a low population of native bass and you just dumped a bunch of Florida strain. You're going to get a lot of purebreds, and like Tyler said, you could have some 10, 12 pounders in 6-7 years.
Oh yeah,
for sure.
That's wow.
And
So the
Tyler,
right time, the right place.
yeah, and Tyler could probably tell you a little more. Tyler was actually out there when they were doing the shocking, but tell him what Zane said about the bait fish and the oxygen and everything. But
Yeah, he was actually amazed with the amount of bait fish and the oxygen levels that were in there. It was, especially when it connected like somewhat to salt water. I know it's a ways with the like the droughts and stuff we had, like, but the salt water really didn't make it to there this year, and it's like really good oxygen, especially in like the summer. We did it. I think it was first week mid September or something. We did that,
yeah,
and it was hot as heck. So yeah, but yeah, the
So,
just bait fish are there, threadfin shad are there, tons
wow.
of bluegill, and
Thread fins are the big ones, right?
oh yeah, yeah.
Okay, so you got thread fins and you got gizzards.
Mm-hmm.
So you got lots of bait.
tons.
You've got
Tons
good
of bait,
oxygen
tons of
levels.
thread.
Those things might be putting on three pounds a year.
Yeah, for sure. It takes. I was talking with Sean, and he said it takes 10 bluegill or 10 pounds of bluegill for a fish to grow a pound or something. So
Okay.
within a year. So as long as they eat that within a year, and I mean, there's plenty of that for them to eat.
Plenty of bluegills in there.
Oh, there's plenty of everything, I think,
Plenty of
but a
everything.
lot of protein for them fish in there because once we
Plenty of-
released them, they look like they're ready to eat already.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
He told me they hadn't eaten for almost 5 days. So, and
Mm-hmm.
those little fish, there's plenty of bugs in there, and like you said, crawfish, and I'm sure there are grass shrimp in there, and
Oh yeah.
Well,
maybe even some real shrimp.
yeah, Sean was telling me at the Friday at the release, he said that like if it's like tiger bass or northern strain bass that they release as if they were trying to like let's say grow fish, like for us we wanted a larger fish because we figured it would give us a better net outcome than just releasing a whole bunch of very, very small fish. But what he was saying, Jay, was that if once those fish get to a certain size and they're not eating they got to start feeding them pellets or whatever. He said those northern bass or those tigers will no problem. He said some of these pure Floridas will literally starve to death because they don't want the artificial pellets. They want live, something that would be in their natural habitat. So my thinking is that if they hadn't ate for a little while because they didn't have, you know what I'm saying, in those tanks they were in, they got access to all kinds of food now. So I'm thinking they probably feeding pretty good. Here we are about 3 or 4 days later.
Look like some piranhas out there.
Yeah.
Well, as soon as he opened up the lid of those tanks, they started jumping, and we had to run around there and grab them off
Yeah.
They were jumping 5 feet, man. I can't wait to hook into a bass that can do that.
Yeah, those fish were well taken care of. They were.
I know Taylor doesn't want to do that during a tournament, but man, you don't want to hook into a crazy jumper. But man, if I'm just fun fishing,
Mm-hmm.
there's
Oh,
nothing
yeah.
more exciting to see one jump and do 2 backflips.
I agree.
Boy, I cannot wait. I cannot wait till those things start growing. I asked those guys, they take me fishing. They said, just wait till these things grow a little bit. I'll wait.
Yeah,
It'll
I'll
be
wait.
worth.
won't be long.
Yeah.
I'll wait. When's the next fundraiser, guys?
The next one is January 31st. It's gonna be in the same place. You were there last year. Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
It's gonna be in the Gaines Community Center. And the difference is this year we know what we're doing. Last year we had no idea what we were doing. So
For having no idea, you guys certainly put on a great event. I had a great time there, guys. Guys, those of you who are watching it, man, they had, I don't even know how to say the boucherie. Did I say that right?
yeah.
Boucherie pig, and about 17 different kinds of desserts and all kinds of sides. And you want some Cajun cooking, come on down here and eat with these guys who are real freaking Cajuns.
Yeah, it's gonna be the same vibe. We really tried to go for more of a wedding reception, like if you was at a festival or something like that. I didn't want it to feel like you was at a seminar.
Yeah.
So I think we captured that energy and that vibe. But like I said, Friday when we were releasing the fish, I never really thought about it like this until I got put on the spot. But so Friday it was me and my buddy Beck, who owns Beck's Bar, where we hold all of our functions at. outside of our big event. But anyway, so it was me, Lil Beck, and a guy named Colin from the Comet. And he asked me, he said, well, when we was in the boat that morning, he asked me, he said, well, like, how did y'all do it? Like, how did the process work? And I never really thought about it like that. And my answer was, and it was, because this is how it happened. I said, well, I said, I talked to one of my buddies, who was the president of the Gaines Community Center. I got the date set, and that was it. We just literally started just figuring out. I mean, just set the date, and like, okay, you got a deadline, sucker. You know what I'm saying? Get to freaking work, and that's what we did. And it was it wasn't fun. It was terrible, quite honestly. And, a month before we got there, I kept telling a few people that I had assist me, people will show up. I think what it was, Jay, I think although everybody, I think pretty much everyone believed in the cause.
Yes.
I don't know if they, I think people were just a little hesitant to say, are these guys really serious, you know, and all that. And I think as we just persevered and kept moving forward, people were like, all right, they're not backing down. You know what I'm saying? They moving forward and they need our help. But I get on Facebook. I don't think I don't think I'm a very prideful person. And I damn sure wasn't in those moments. I was like, look, you know, we need help. I need help, you know, and the right people did show up. And now, you know, we have a committee of like 22 people. You know, we have a very defined board where people have, you know, defined responsibilities and everything. So with this accomplishment from Friday, you know, like I said, I think our brand and our credibility we have here locally really just went up a lot. So now that our stock's kind of moving in the right direction, is, you know, puts us right where we want to be.
To the world, Steve. You proved to the world, you and Steve and Tyler both prove to the world that you're serious and you're capable of doing this.
Yeah, mainly Steve for sure. He's day in and day out doing this stuff left and right behind the scenes. So it's definitely, he's done a lot.
Wow.
He has, and you know, all you guys, man, just you have my undying support in this and everything I can do to publicize what you did. That's why I was taking videos and pictures of the fish and the fish actually going into the water and showing that they weren't fingerlings, which are this big. No, these were 4 to 6 inch fish, which have an whole bunch.
Something to eat.
Yeah, I can't even say, man. They have such a greater chance of survival.
Yeah, they got odds. They definitely got odds, and that was the plan. That, you know, that was the idea, was let's do a fall release where they should be grass. When in spring they didn't hardly have a lick of grass, you know, and we got some pushback in that. Or, you know, some people, you know, got to do the spring, and we had just had our event. You know, we needed time to figure out who'd be the best place to get the fish from, you know, and so doing it in the fall gave us the time. It gave us the time, like I said, not only find somebody, because the state gave us a list of hatcheries that were approved, okay? But we had to talk to a lot of them to find out who could give us the best deal and who could handle an order that size of, 4 to 6 inch fish. And not to mention, although the state had stepped up and said you got $50,000, the money was coming from the state. So, you know, anything that has to go from the state, it's got a lot of steps to go through. You know what I mean? So we didn't actually have access to that money to not long ago.
A couple weeks ago.
Like pretty recently. Okay? So had we done
about stress.
Yeah. Geez. So we had the order. We just didn't have the money just yet. And I just kept telling everybody, keep the faith. All the guys that, you know, the state representatives I mentioned earlier kept saying, look, it's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. And we believed in them.
Right.
But like I said, we had this order because I did not want to have to call American Sportfish and say, hey, by the way, can you find another buyer or whatever? You know, that wouldn't have been a very good way to get this relationship started.
The biggest order of the year just fell through. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, you know, but that's what I said. So we wanted to wait till the water temperatures were going to be cooler, less fishing pressure. Like I said, the habitat just absolutely exploded, probably more than we even thought. It was post-hurricane season. You know, where like we're not doing these events. RAU doesn't exist if it's not for Hurricane Ida.
Yes.
Yes. So you never know how hurricane season is going to play out. So
Never.
fall release was definitely the way to go. So that'll more than likely be the standard moving forward.
And that's what I really wanted to get out in this podcast, just the amount of coordination and work that had to go into stocking this. Like I told you, in Illinois, I was involved in this every year, stocking walleyes and largemouth bass and muskies into the lakes that I guided. And I got all kinds of pushback on that. Oh, yeah, you're just a guide. I'm like, yeah, I'm a guide. Everybody's got to make money.
Correct.
And I'm not the only person allowed to catch those fish.
That's right.
Yep.
All of us, they're there for all of us, man. It just, I put in more work than you guys do in order to benefit the fishery. And I fell in love with benefiting fisheries because I saw the results, because I guided for 17 years. And for 15 of those years, I was involved in efforts just like yours. That's why when Tad approached me with this, these guys are doing this, I'm like, give me their number. Give me their number. I will call them right now.
Right. That's right. Yeah.
I mean, right now. So I'd like to thank Tad Mazie for that.
Yep. Thank you.
He was the one who got me involved in you guys. And, just going there and meeting your guys, it just the amount of dedication and love for the sport of fishing. And, when I was growing up, I was starting to think I was just different than everybody else because I didn't like to play football or baseball. I wasn't any good at sports, and all I'd like to do was fish. And wow, now I'm eating, since I've gotten into the fishing industry back in 1990. Yeah, I'm going to date myself here. 1997.
Well, that's one thing we can say in this, Jay, in this area, per capita, we have a lot of very committed fishermen, whether it's just purely recreational or club fishermen or whatever. And that's another thing, is that over the next few years, it's kind of like we were talking about before the show, in Cotahuachi, when Cotahuachi was running and killing it, the amount of commerce that was bringing in, that commerce will come and it'll go just as soon as the fish go, So back to what I was saying a little earlier, if we get leftover money, whatever amount of money we have left over the next few years, it's going to go to places like Cotahuachi or the Zombies or whatever. But like I said, it has to have the habitat to sustain those fish. And I think
most people don't understand the economic impact of bass fishing in particular. Down on the coast, of course they have, particularly Venice and Grand Isle, Lake Charles, some of the big sport fishing hubs. But if we could get a great bass fishery down here, we'd have bass fishing tourism. And yes, they will drive all the way down here. They've done it before. In fact, the Bassmaster Classic, Tyler, you probably know, wasn't it twice it's been in New Orleans?
Oh, yeah, twice.
Twice. Bassmaster Classic brings in millions, man. Guys like Tyler come down there and spend thousands.
Oh, yeah.
I guarantee they're not considering coming here right now. You know what I mean?
No, there's no fish here right now.
Right.
But that's why I say if you build it, they will come.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I think they would love to come back, but first things first. And Jay, also like we were talking about a little bit earlier, Tyler and Stephen Rottweiler just got involved with this organization that Zane LeBlanc, like I said, our black bass biologist, he's like, he's just, I can't say enough good things about this guy. Like I said, like literally it went from having the old guard, which just looked down on us. That's the way I feel about it. It was always like just this huge separation. Like they were like, okay, this is us and that's them. And it's not like that now. It's like this literally, we're all in this together. You know what I'm saying? And that's coming from the top down. That's coming from everything that Zane's doing. I say this all the time. We did put in a lot of hard work and sacrifice to get this done. But the fact that Zane LeBlanc and his crew and it's not just Zane, it's everybody it's just this whole new administration or this group they have at Wildlife and Fisheries. They evolved in such a blessing. But the point I'm making is that it was nothing more than sheer luck that as we were spearheading this effort, they were kind of coming into their roles, and it just so happened to where we got there at the same time, and they took notice of what we were doing. They fully believed in what we were doing. Like I said, to the extent that we have these partnership projects and everything. And to take it a step further, Zane, I'm gonna let Tyler take over this because they're actually about to kick this off. But he formed a group, and they're gonna address everything under the sun for whatever it takes to make bass fishing as optimal as possible. So
Yeah.
I just tell them whatever you know so far, Tyler.
Yeah. So
I
it's
can't
called
think of two better guys, guy. Tyler, you got 5 minutes.
Oh, you're good. It's the Black Bass Management Program, it's called. And basically, I think it's going to be like 15 of us from Louisiana. And it's just going to be for Louisiana. So this is from here all the way to like north, like Caney, even what's the good lake that we were just talking about up there?
Bussy Break.
Bussy Break. Yeah.
Bussy Break.
Never even been there yet.
Yeah.
But so we're just going to be talking about management for them, what we could do to help, what we could do, all this other stuff. So it's going to be a great program, I think, and I'm glad to be a part of it because just like y'all, like I fished my whole life, and I think now like we're able to like get with the wildlife fishery. You know, like growing up, everybody like wouldn't say hates the wildlife fishery, but when they pull up to your boat, you kind of already getting the nerves. It's like even though if you're doing everything right, you're like, oh, they're here. But now I think like we're like they just helped us so much this already, and now that they want to do this program, I think it's going to help bring Louisiana back to the sportsman's paradise that it was, you know.
Oh, that's just great. I can't think of two guys who are more qualified to sit on a committee like that than you and Steve Rockweiler.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
And it's, like Steve just said, it's giving us a voice. Like, you know, we're actually able to talk to them now, and we're able to, like, they're going to listen to our opinions and what they think, and we'll actually get stuff done, I think. So.
Yeah, I think that was Zane's whole concept. Was he wanted a very diverse group of avid fishermen, you know, from all kind of different walks of life and whatnot, like a kind of a broad representation of fishermen. So now everybody, like from kayak fishermen to bass fishermen to, like I said, just avid recreational fishermen, whatever, where they can all have a seat at the table and voice their concerns, you know, the challenges, but there's always challenges to be faced, right?
Of course.
We're all going to be in the same room. They're going to be public meetings, you know, we're going to be able to attend, and, you know, we've got to address things like saltwater intrusion and things like limits and things like
limits, yes. Enforcement,
habitat, you know, what areas need there's certain habitat projects we can work towards and everything.
Yeah. So I guess that's one thing, like with the Responsible Anglers United, it's not just responsible fishermen, like just Fish United, you know, it's like we literally could do anything with, if we raise the right amount of money, we could release the fish. We could make just like land, for instance, like just like stuff like artificial reefs and stuff that they need if we ain't got the
all kinds of stuff.
Yeah. And I'm glad Tyler said that, because it was one of the things that I wanted to mention before I got on the podcast, and I'd have felt kind of crappy if I'd have forgot. I didn't meet this guy till last year at the event in Gaines. He walks up to me, shakes my hand, and I didn't know him. You know, he thanked me and said, man, you know, he always wanted to do something like this. I always hoped that somebody would form something like this. So we got off to a good start. We exchanged numbers, a guy named Cooney Martin. And so I called him out. I was like, look, man, you seem sincere. I want you to be a part of the team. So he came on board. And after getting to know him, I knew he'd be the right guy for this position. In fact, this year at when we were at the fundraiser for in Pierre Park.
For Cliff Crochet.
Cliff Crochet's Every Fish Matters. That's what I was trying to say.
Every Fish Matters.
I asked Cooney was there, because Cooney goes to all this kind of stuff. And I said, look, man, I said, because I've just been overwhelmed, like time-wise and all, like I'm just spread way too thin. I'm like, I think you'd be the right guy. I'm like, look, we are an official 501c3. You know, we have that status with the IRS, meaning we can apply for local, state, federal grants, right? And he said, yeah, man, I'll take it on. And he has been all over it. Now, granted, the federal government's having some cutbacks right now. Jay, I think you might be aware of this. But
Yeah.
you know, we're still going to proceed, and we will, you know, just through sheer persistence, we will come across some grants. And certain grants are just only habitat related or whatever. Some more, or maybe more geared towards purchasing fish or whatever. But what I guess what I'm getting at is, of course, we're going to keep doing our fundraisers every year and everything. But we come into some of these grants, we could come into some very, very large piles of money, you know.
Yes.
And we, like I said, we will. There's no doubt in my mind we will. So when we do, it just gives us more leverage to have a bigger impact, you know. So we're trying to use all the resources we have available.
Well, that's great, Steve. That's about all the time we have for tonight. But man, thank you to everybody involved with Responsible Anglers United. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Tyler. Appreciate you guys taking time out of your busy schedule to come and talk to the folks on my podcast. That's why I wanted to have a special podcast just for you guys.
I appreciate it, Jan. I wanted to thank you again, man, because you came along pretty early last year, you know, after we got that introduction, and you've been selling the crap out of us, you know what I'm saying, since day one. I mean, unapologetically, too many syllables, too, you know. And I appreciate it, man, because you've got the platform and everything, and I could tell it was something that was very near and dear to you. So, you know, so we got a new friend out the deal, and we appreciate you being an advocate, man.
Well, it truly is my honor, man. I love bass fishing and everything involved with bass fishing. I love. Well, actually, I love all fishing. That's why it's called Let's Talk Fishing and not something about bass fishing.
Right.
I just love the fish altogether. I've been doing it for my entire life. And like you said, when I moved down here, I started to meet the guys, and I'm like, man, I fit in.
We like the fish.
Well,
yeah, you guys like the fish, and you know, yeah, you like your football too, and that's okay. But you know, you guys like the fish, and that's just awesome.
I'll take fishing over football any day. I can't change the outcome of a football game, but
no.
I can't catch a fish on the couch. So,
and you're not going to be able to play football when you're 75.
No.
But
no.
I will still, if I make it that long, I will still be fishing.
Absolutely.
Just like Steve Rockweller, man, that guy fished longer than I did, and that's truly an inspiration to me.
Yep, you still got plenty of gas in the tank.
Yep.
Well, hey guys, I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in to this edition of the Let's Talk Fishing podcast. With that, I'm going to end this podcast. And guys, it's Tuesday. It's not too early to make your plans to go fishing this weekend. Guys, stick around. I'm going to end the podcast now.
All right. Thank you, buddy.
It's not ending.